You are listening to Claret and Blue, an Aston Villa podcast brought to you by Birmingham Live.
Hello, welcome back to the Claret and Blue podcast. My name is Dan Rowance and I'm joined this evening by John Townley after Aston Villa have won once again in the Premier League. That's 5 wins now for Unai Emery in 7 games and 3 away wins on the road. The first manager to do that since John Gregory in 1997, I think. John, you weren't even born. I was just about born. It's been a long time coming to Villa. Actually put some consistent wins together. Just before we started here, I said my cheeks look very rosy for some reason, but maybe it's just because I'm excited that Villa are winning even when they don't play particularly well. How are you, my friend? You okay?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. I'm much better after we've won at Southampton. It was going... obviously we draw in the game and then we get the lucky sort of VAR decision, I'd say. But no, another really good win. The performance, as we'll get into, wasn't particularly pretty, but that's just say five wins out of 7, and we're only going to get better now under Unai Emery. And what are we, 3 points out of 6th place as we record? So it's nice to win games, but knowing that things are going to get even better, as I say, that's really exciting.
Yeah, I was half preparing myself mentally to come on here and talking about Aston Villa 0, Southampton 0, or that they've nicked a winner and we've played poorly and not had the final cutting edge, and how disappointing it is to not get something against bottom of the league. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Douglas Luiz whips it in for Ollie Watkins, and you go, "Oh yeah, we've got this. It's fine. Let's all just calm down and relax. Let's talk about another win." We'll talk about the VAR decision and the offside goals and the drone stuff. It's a very strange game this afternoon with a lot of talking points. Let's do what we do first of all, as we always do first of all, then go back to team news time. Unchanged team in the sense that Moreno came on in the last game early on, and that's the way we ended the game, and that's the way we started today. But you look at the bench and you think, oh, we're light here. We have got to make signings. There's 2 goalkeepers. There's 2 youngsters. You're looking at it going, if we've got to make changes in an attacking area, there's no experience there. You're relying on Coutinho to do something, or Matty Cash to do something from the right wing potentially. So we do need to make a couple of signings this window, ideally, to get some depth back in there. But overall, that's the team that we're going with. That's the starting 11 now when available. And the more games they get together, the more we kind of tick along with training sessions. That is a solid starting 11, I think. It's just we need a bit of depth as well.
Yeah, and I think the only sort of alteration that could be made in that team is Matty Cash coming in for Ashley Young. But and we'll go on to it, but Ashley Young was excellent again today, and you can't take him out of the team when he's playing like that. So Matty Cash is going to have to win his shirt back somehow. But no, on the bench, that is an issue because, as you said, the only player that we can bring off the bench to maybe change the game would probably be Felipe Coutinho, and we know that Coutinho isn't in the best form. He's got like one goal contribution in nearly 30 games now. Staggering. That's nearly a full season. So that's probably not going to change the game for you if you need it. And we did bring him on today. He came on before we scored the goal, I believe.
I think so.
But he didn't make much of an impact. So that is a bit of an issue moving forward. But luckily we didn't need that today, and it was a set piece that won us the game. I mean, we look solid, to be fair. Off the ball again, we are always going to be organised under Emery, but we haven't kept many clean sheets. I think Tottenham, we obviously kept a clean sheet. In this one, we kept a clean sheet too. I think that's the only clean sheet we've had under Emery, actually, in the 7 Premier League games, unless I'm mistaken. I can't think of any more, unless there's a game that I'm missing. But no, yeah, a really good, more so, the 3 points in performance, I'd say. So we move forward and we're always improving, which is the main positive for me. But no, it's certainly things to dwell on over the next 2 weeks, and thankfully the transfer market is still open. Emery, we know, wants to bring in players that are going to improve the 11, is what he said. In January, that's very difficult. So I do wonder what we're going to do because, for example, Moussa Dembele, does he improve the team? Yes, he does. Does he improve the 11? Possibly. But I think we're looking for a level up because we're trying to get into the top 6, top 7, aren't we? Can't really do that in January. So in terms of getting players that are, going to cost a lot of money. So maybe we'll get a Dembele and something like that until the end of the season and then revise where we are again, because looking at the bench, you say 2 goalkeepers, a couple of youngsters and no striker really. That is a bit of an issue. Maybe we should have kept Archer around just as an extra body. But we'll see how things unfold in the next 2 weeks. But it's nice not to be dwelling on anything other than 3 points again. That's 2 wins out of 2. So yeah, onwards and upwards again, and 5 wins out of 7. Really, really a positive start for Emery.
Yeah, the perks of doing this live, by the way, is that one, I can research things in another tab, and also we've got the comments who will always put us in the right direction. Clean sheet against Tottenham as well, and for Unai Emery, a 2-0. Also mentioning about when the injuries come back, obviously McGinn, Carlos, John Duran, Luca Dean, that would strengthen the bench as well, of course, but still a couple of players you still need in there, I think, because it only takes 2 or 3 injuries where you're going, and now there's 2 goalkeepers and 2 kids on the bench. So, we've got depth, but only to an extent.
Exactly. That's the point. You need 2 players per position. And yes, John Duran's coming in. But that's a player that's improving, that's only played 1 season in, is MLS top flight football? Probably not. So he's completely improved. And obviously we spent a lot of money on him, but we're buying potential, aren't we? And although the season is, we're only halfway through. So yes, we're 3 points out of top 6. But if Watkins picks up an injury or goes through a bad run of form or whatever it may be, Leon Bailey gets injured, either one of them you take out the team, and we're all of a sudden you've got Buendia at the top of the pitch, and then that affects midfield. It's different problems because our squad is so tight right now. So yeah, definitely need to probably delve into the transfer market. But as I say, judging by Emery's comments and what we've heard so far, I don't know if they will. They might try and just plod along until the end of the season, but it's not as if we're 10 games from the end, is it? We're a lot as well. We want to finish in the top 10. We want to be competitive, and in a season where Liverpool and Chelsea have been so poor, other teams as well, your Brentford and Brightons, they're doing really well, of course, but there's we beat Brighton away from home, and we beat Brentford 4-0 at home, so we've shown that we can at least compete with them and play well. So yeah, there's a long way to go in the season yet, so I wonder how or if we're going to change our approach and say what's going to come in the next 10 days. It's only 10 days remaining now of the window.
Yeah, somebody's saying let's think about the positives that we've got right now rather than looking where we need to improve. But again, if we just sit here and go, it's a great win, it's a great result away from home, we've got 3 points, that's the end of the podcast. We've got nothing else to say. Let's try and analyse it a little bit further than that. Just talking through the game, we talked about the VAR stuff early on and the drone and whatever else. But regardless of all those, and we will get into them, I feel like that game is a kind of perfect example of a game that we lose under Steven Gerrard. We lose under a lot of the managers that we've had in recent years, to be honest. And I don't know, as average man down the pub fan analysis, what Unai Emery specifically has done to change Villa already in that sense. But that's that game and the Leeds game and possibly one of the others earlier on in the season under Emery as well. We've sat on the podcast after and gone, well, in an alternative universe, we lose that. And today I feel like it's the perfect example of that first Southampton goal is clearly offside, which is fair enough, but you kind of go, maybe heads drop a little bit. The second goal with the VAR, again, we'll talk about it in a sec. I'm not sure whether that's a bit soft. I think if it's the other way around, I'm going, that's a bit harsh, but the rules are the rules. Again, heads maybe drop. You look at Villa yourself and you're not being clinical, you're not making chances. Yes, you've got 70% possession, but you're not doing anything with it. In other games and in other seasons, that's a 0-0, or Southampton come again for the 3rd time and win 1-0, and this is a totally different show because we're talking about something, how disappointing it is and what a missed opportunity it is. So what Unai Emery specifically has done, what tangible thing I can say, this is the reason why we're now different, I don't know. I don't know whether you can tell me, but something's changed, something's different, and in any other season gone by in the last 5-10 years, we lose today, or we don't win. So to get 5 wins from 7, I don't know what he's changed already, whether it was mindset or mentality or whether it is tactical tweaks in game. If this is the beginning of Unai Emery, 5 and 7, like you said at the start, in theory, this is the worst we're going to be under Unai Emery. So if this is the start, 16 points out of 21, is it? What's the rest of the season got? What's next season got? What has the next 5 years got? That's where the excitement lies for me.
Bang on. I think both help each other in terms of the mentality and how he's changed things. And yes, today, I think we were lucky today. I think we were lucky against Leeds as well. I don't think the performances have been particularly brilliant, but we're coming out with 6 points out of those 2 games. But I think it's obviously mainly the organisation. I know Gerrard, when he first came in, he said we need to be better off the ball and we need to be possession-based, but he couldn't do it. Emery hasn't said all those things yet, but we know that that's what we want to become. And when you go to any team in the Premier League, Villa, when's the last time we've kept, I don't know if AVFC stats or no, I've no idea. When's the last time we kept nearly 75% of the ball in the first half of an away game?
Yeah.
that doesn't come with us playing in, I don't know, an
at
expansive
home even. When was the last time we did that at home? Never mind away.
in an expansive formation. That won't happen. So Emery's got us tight. He's like well organised, well drilled. Leon Bailey's interview in the week was good because every player knows what they need to do in the team, and any Premier League manager, including Steven Gerrard, would like to think that he's told his players what to do, but it's another thing doing it, and what you see on the pitch is what you get. And at the moment, Emery's clearly got buy-in from the players. His instructions are clear, concise, and they're getting, we're getting the rewards from that. And that's why I think we're staying in these games. And yes, you get your own luck, but then you need to make use of it. We win a free kick. It's a good ball in from Luiz, and Ollie Watkins is just about on side. But I feel like we're in their game because we have, as I say, 70% of the ball in the first half. We controlled it and dominated it, and we're clearly the better team. I don't think we then come into the second half thinking, oh, let's now sit back or whatever it may be. Although we weren't brilliant in the second half, in moments we can have belief that we can win the game still because we've already had 40, 50 minutes of dominance over a team. And Southampton are bottom of the league. I don't think they're the worst team in the Premier League at the moment, but they're still a Premier League team, and Villa don't, or in the last 3 years, when was the last time we went to any team and sort of played them off the park in the first half? Chance creation wasn't really there, but that's because, probably players that we have at the moment aren't, a top 6 quality team. We're not there yet. But in terms of what Emery is drilling into the team, it's clearly working, and we're seeing the benefits of that. I think it's more so the mentality shift has happened because we're now organised and because we have belief that we can stay in games, keep clean sheets, and then get a goal if we need to, because we still have quality players. And I've said it before, when you're defending, we have a low block, not low block, we have 4 or 5 players strung across the midfield, almost like a 4-4-2. And it's very hard for teams to break us down. But then going the other way, if you're a midfielder or an attacking player, you pick your head up. You're usually 3 or 4 of the players there because you've got a Buendia, Jacob Ramsey, and then 2 forwards, Bailey and Watkins. There's always options, so it works both ways. And it sounds really simple, but whatever Emery's telling his players, it's clearly working and working really well at the moment. And yes, we've got our luck today, but I think we said before the podcast, Dan, us Villa fans have probably got to get used to that. Like it's a mentality thing for us, and well, for me anyway, going into or coming after a game thinking, wow, we got away with that one. And I always feel like I want to celebrate, but I'm not too sure, because Leeds, we got lucky. We lost to Stevenage, and we got lucky today. As I say, not lucky, and that's a mentality shift, because top 6 teams, when they win, they might not play at their best, and they might get lucky against a Brentford, but they've won the game, and that's normal for them. So hopefully in the future, winning will be more normalised for us. But right now, you have a feeling of, well, we've kind of got away with that. But I suppose
that's what elite teams do, don't they? That they get over the line in whatever instances they have to. Just very quickly, AVS Dato always delivers. Our highest possession in a single game since promotion was 72% in a 1-0 win over Sheffield United in 2020, which must have been the Project Restart game, maybe. Was that the Sheffield United ghost goal Neeland one, maybe? Or the start of the next season, maybe.
The season, Martinez debut, I think.
Yeah, possibly. I just wanted to read the opening to JMO Rushton's newsletter, which is titled "Curse Lifted as Emery's Villa Sow the Threads of European Football." I'll just read the first paragraph or so. How many times have you seen that match lost by a flagging Aston Villa side? Well, I don't have to tell you, dear reader, how many times the Villa have turned up in an away stadium in their 3rd shirt only to fall apart. It was those games that define entire seasons. They'd usually be against a Southampton or a Brighton or Sheffield United. 3 p.m. away kickoffs where the sun fled early and hope soon followed. Everyone gets one, a bogey tie. You can't win every single football match, and in every away fixture, the opposition crowd can be a great equaliser, no matter the quality of the visiting team. However, better teams see more of those out. Teams like Aston Villa simply do not turn up in them. For teams like Villa, consider it a curse, let alone a tough tie away from B6. Not anymore. Curse lifted. And the full thing you can read, and I'll put a link below. It's written lovely. It's written very well, and a lovely read, I should say. I've put the link in the YouTube comments and the Facebook comments down below. It's called House of V, James Rushton's newsletter. I love Rushton's writing, and it's well backed up with stats as well. But just that opening, I was reading it before we started, and that's what it does feel like. It feels like it's this curse and this Villa thing that you sit there and go, well, we haven't played great and we've got away with it, but the next game, if we don't play great, we'll probably lose and we'll go down this spiral. but it is like a curse lifted, and it's a mentality shift that we'll have to have. We were talking off air, maybe it's just you and me, but it feels like a Villa fan thing to sit there and think, oh, we've got away with it, we've not played well, we'll take the 3 points and move on, but there's concerns there niggling away in the back of my mind. Maybe that's just what we are now. We'll grind games out, we'll get points out of nowhere, we'll come away from games going, oh, we probably didn't deserve that, but we win, we'll take it in the bag and move on to the next game. 16 points from 21 is top 6 form, isn't it? It's not. Me and Neil did the podcast in the week, and we descended into a conversation based off the comments about relegation. I don't know why we talked about it for so long. I don't even deem it a realistic possibility. But I thought I've got to play both sides of the coin. There's people in the comments talking about, we've sold Danny Ings and we might need a few more goals to kind of get ourselves over the line. Yeah. And I was saying, well, we've got 25 points in the first half of the season. Steven Gerrard was responsible for 13 games of that first half of the season, where you can basically throw all of those away. I think it's something like 7 or 8 points from Gerrard, and then 12 or something from Emery, and that split in much lesser games. And I was saying that there's absolutely no way that Villa don't get at least 50 points this season, because we're halfway through. We've got 25, halfway through again. First half of the season was pathetic. Surely Unai Emery gets at least 25 points in the next 19 games. Starts off with game number 1 of the second half of the season today and gets 3 more. So yeah, absolutely Villa end up with 50 odd points at least. I'm backing that prediction. I'm still going with it. But for those fans that still are always looking over their shoulder, that's 28 points now. It's, you need, say if you need 40 to be safe, that's only 11 more we need. You'll survive on about 35 this season. So let's forget about relegation if anyone still has any kind of worries.
Clearly you are.
It's frankly ridiculous to even think about it. But now Villa in this position where it is a mentality shift and is about looking forwards instead of looking over your shoulder. And Villa, it slightly annoys me to win games and still not move anywhere up the league. We're still 11th because Chelsea have got another point. But to have 28 points and sit in 11th, and you're looking at Fulham being on 31 and Brighton being on 30, 31 as well. Like you said, we beat Brentford, we beat Brighton. We've got 18 games to go. Now, there's a lot of people almost writing this season off at one stage going, well, we're not going to go down. We're not going to get in the top 6. We're not going to get in the top 8. If we finish somewhere between 12th and 10th, that's fine. There's now this slight realistic possibility that Villa put a run together and do achieve something. Now, we're not in either trophy anymore, so we can't win one of those. But if you can get to 50, 55 points, 60 points, who knows where that ends up this season? Who knows what 7th gets you, what 8th gets you, depending on who goes on to win the trophy. It's not out of the realms of possibility that Villa finish 7th or 8th and still get into some kind of European football, is what I'm saying. So at one stage, to almost go, well, let's maybe write this season off and think about Unai Emery next season. Let him build. Let's take it steady. Let's be patient. I'm now sitting here on the 21st of January going, we might get into Europe this year. And that's the positivity I want to be talking about. I don't want to be looking over my shoulder like some people are. Let's look forward. Let's look ahead. And let's see where we can go this season, never mind the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth dreaming.
What's the point following football if you're not going to get excited?
And I have said at the top of the show, though, like Liverpool and Chelsea, they've played a mid-table clash today, which is probably never going to happen again. I'm still going to take a top 10 because, as I say, we've won 5 out of 7, and this is the worst we're probably going to be. And I know it's like a new manager bounce, so we're going to have spells where we don't win in 4 games or whatever. But the points returned, considering the level that we're at and the players that we have right now, who only one of them is a Unai Emery signing, bodes extremely well. Again, I'm not going to get too ahead of myself yet, because while there is a lot of, not many points stopping us from being in 6th, there's a lot of teams, how many was that, 5 teams? Yeah. So there's a lot of traffic. That's the only issue. But it's really positive that we got the win today and we can move forward with it. But I'm not going to get too giddy and set expectations. I think let's just see how we go. We had the list of like the next 6 games a couple of weeks ago, didn't we, Dan? And we had like Wolves, the Leeds, Southampton, Stevenage, and Leicester as well, I think, in that. And we were saying you probably want to get 3 points out of all of those games, but it's not a case that you're just going to win 6 games on the trot. Some whatever reason it doesn't happen. And to be fair, we've actually got more points than I thought we'd get out of it, because we're playing teams that we probably should be winning. It doesn't work like that. It's football doesn't work like that. And Leicester have got did they draw today, I think, against Brighton?
2-2, I think.
Yeah, and they've been in a really bad run of form. Got them next, obviously, in 2 weeks. But the point I'm trying to make is you got to take every game as it comes. This season, the next season, that's when you can really set yourselves targets and really go for the top 7. Emery will get back to the summer as well. But for now, just knowing that we have an elite manager and it's actually working and we're seeing it straight away, there's loads of positivity that can come out of that and going into next season. And you say towards the back end of this season as well, like if we can just have a push, let's just go for it, because we can't go wrong, really. You know, let's try and finish top 10, sorry. But because there's so much traffic, you never know. It could be a difference between 2 or 3 points to get into Europe, which can go 3 games. So, yeah.
When I talk about points totals, and I was saying in the last show about Villa will get at least 50 points this season because 25 in the first half with Steven Gerrard, give Emery half a season with a bit of momentum, as the momentum we've already got now with 5 and 7. Surely we'll get at least another 25 points in the second half. If we're talking about trying to predict the next 3 or 4 games, let's predict the next 18, 19. How many points is realistic, do you think, for the next half of the season? Because somebody just said in the comments that last season 57 points got you 7th place. I don't know whether that's true or not, but I'm going to take it as face value, just because someone said it. Let's go with it. But it's about right, isn't it? Mid-50s gets you up around top 8 or so. So if that's the target internally, mid-50s, because of how tight it is, you don't know what that's going to achieve. It could be 7th, it could be 6th, it could be 10th if it's a very competitive top half. But it feels like Liverpool and Chelsea not being what they should be is a bit of a kind of rogue variable in there. Brighton, Brentford and Fulham being the teams in 6th, 7th and 8th at the moment. 6th, 7th and 9th, sorry. You look at them and think, well, are they going to do exactly the same in the second half that they've done in the first half of the season? Will Brighton be as good for the next 19 games? Will Fulham drop off at some point? So I'm kind of looking at it going, if Villa get 55 points, who knows what position that will end up with? And that doesn't seem like an outrageous points target at this stage. And that will be our best points finish since, obviously, Dean Smith got 55, but before then, Martin O'Neill in 6th place. So I almost feel like aim for 56 points, get your best finish for 10 years or so. And there's a possibility that gets you into 8th, 7th place and possibly European football.
I think that'll probably be the target. It'll be what it was last year. Obviously, say break the points total that we've had for so many years, get top 10 anyway, because we haven't done that in, 11 years now. But can you reach the target that was set last year in terms of European football? That would show a good sign, because then next year you'd expect
almost ahead of schedule.
Yeah, and next year automatically the target would be more points than what we have this year, because we've had a third of the season not with Unai Emery. So that would make sense to me. But again, until the end of this season, we are very light. I would like to see what we do in the next 10 days. If we sign a Guendouzi, if we sign a striker, and I'm not asking for anything, by the way, because I'd rather sign the right players, and that's what Emery will do. Yeah. If he has to, he'll be patient, and that's the right way to play things. But if he can get his targets over the line in the next 10 days, which it will be a big ask, but if he does, then that probably changes perspective as well. Then I am thinking, all of a sudden we've got half a season to have a crack at the top 7, or you're almost playing from the same position then, because we're so tight with 4 or 5 teams above us. It's almost like all right, between this little cluster of teams below the top 6 and above the top half, it's like a mini season between us and them. Just say Fulham have been really good up until now. Brighton have been really good up until now. So Brentford, we've been not very good up until about a couple of weeks ago, or not a couple of weeks ago, until about 5 or 6 games ago. So maybe this is our turn now to have our run of form. So that's a really good point. And say players coming in potentially could change that. So not that I'm not answering the question, but I think it depends on who we sign over the next 10 days, because again, we are a couple of injuries away from having a team that wouldn't be able to compete for that, I don't think.
There's a couple of comments saying take it one game at a time, and I agree that is how you do it in football. But as a fan, you've got to start to look ahead a little bit. There's now 2-week breaks until the next game because of no FA Cup, so it is a talking point to try and guess the rest of the season, I guess. But I do understand take it one game at a time, beat Leicester, and then let's talk about beating the game after that. Yeah. Let's talk about that VAR decision then a little bit. Again, it feels a little bit futile because whatever we say about this, ultimately it doesn't matter. It went in Villa's favour and we won 1-0, so let's not get too kind of caught up in it. I put on Twitter during the game that I felt like we got away with it a little bit. Now, he might have made contact with his heel, or there might have been a shove in the arm, whatever, but if that's given against us and we lose the game 1-0 because we have a goal ruled out and they've scored in that manner, I'd be fuming with that. So it might be the rule book and it might be the letter of the law that is a foul. And if it's anywhere on the pitch, maybe it is a foul and you go, yeah, fair enough, let's carry on, play on. But I don't know, I just feel like we got away with one a little bit. And like I said, if that was against us, I'll be feeling a little bit miffed going, was there really enough there for Ramsey to go down? Probably not, but if that's the rules, that's the rules.
Yeah, it's not a foul. We've got away with one. There's no other way of talking about it. Like we can go on about, but his arm's on his back. But I have like a rule of, I forgot where I hear it now, but I have a rule of if you're at a bar and you're holding like holding some pints or whatever the contact is, if that's enough contact to send you to the floor when you're trying to hold your pints, then it's a penalty. If it's not, like, do you know what I mean? If Ramsey's been pushing the back like that ever so slightly and he's holding his pints at the bar and he doesn't fall over, it's not a penalty because you hold to fall over. I'm not saying he's like dived, but he's bought the contact and it's not a foul, and that's how I rule it. If it's not enough to send you to the floor when you're holding your pints at the bar, it's not a foul, is it? Because you've bought it. So yeah, no one wants to. Well, today I'd like to see that goal being ruled out, and it was. But in any other game, you can't have goals ruled out for contact that's that soft. And
what about the ankle thing, though? That's what all the comments saying, that there's contact with the ankle, there's studs on the ankle.
I haven't seen the ankle thing, but again, goals ruled out for that. Really, he hasn't meant to clip him over, and no, it's a no for me. I think it's a clear goal. I don't. No, I'm not buying it. I think Ramsey.
This is what I mean. If that's the other way around, we're all going, oh well, yeah, there might have been a slight contact, but come on, that's not going to change the outcome of that goal. Well, the shot comes in the next stage and it's deflected anyway, and it bounces over, and it's all a bit mishmashy together.
It's in slow motion as well, which I don't like. I mean, again, we're talking as Villa fans in. This is after the event, but it's slow motion. Well, of course, you're going to find contact in slow motion. You could probably pick 100,000 a game more than what you do. I don't like it at all. And if imagine being at Villa Park and that's, I don't know, last minute against someone to win the game, and then everyone's looking around thinking, what's going on? You don't need it. I do agree with it. I think it needs to be in the game because it does sort things out, but the officiating of it is incorrect sometimes for me. And I think that was an incorrect decision because I don't know how you can rule a goal out that could be the difference for Southampton to stay up. And this is me being like a neutral journalist, I suppose, but I mean, no for me. I feel the same as you. Yeah, I don't rule that out. It's not really. It's not in the sort of. Not for me.
Again, it's one of those ones it's like the handball rule, isn't it? It's the letter of the law. There's any contact with the ankle, the ref can say it's a foul. If that's happened anywhere else on the pitch and it's a foul, then it is. So if it happens in a goal phase of play, you can rule the goal out for it. But like I said, if that's the other way around, I'll be absolutely fuming with that. And if that's enough contact to be deemed as a foul, what are VAR not spotting for us not to get 2 penalties?
Yeah, that's the other point. If that's exactly that. If it's enough contact to not be a foul, then so it's inconsistencies, and no one really wants to talk about refs when we've won the game, but it's true. The first one was did Bazunu get a hand on that? When
the commentary team I was watching on whatever stream I was watching on was saying, the ball's deviated off in the other way, so the keeper must have touched it, but I don't know whether it was as clear cut as that.
I think he probably touched it, which is probably enough because is Ramsey, I'd probably say no. I think the second one was certainly more of a shout.
Yeah.
But at the same time, again, I think it was Ramsey again, wasn't it, that was involved? Is at the centre of all of it. But again, I think it's one of those where I think the ref knows he's trying to buy it because he's let the ball roll across him, which he wouldn't have done if the defender wasn't there. He wasn't shielding the ball, was he? He was almost shielding nothing to fall over. So I think if he got a foot on the ball and then went over, then it'd probably be a penalty because he's clearly in control of it. But because of that, I don't think it was worth them, rechecking. But either way, contentious decisions. We probably, if you add both decisions up, we probably should have had a penalty somewhere.
Well, yeah.
But yeah.
If there's enough contact to say it's a foul to rule out the goal, then it must be enough contact to say that one of those is a penalty. So if we didn't get the penalties, we do get the decision to rule out the goal, and we eventually were 1-0. So happy days as a Villa fan. Why are we even debating it? Doesn't matter, does it? We've got away with it. I'm happy with that. But I suppose that comes with the conversation of we're winning in this ugly way, and it's substance over style, and all these kind of things that we've talked about a couple of times since Emery's come, and some discussion about how Villa see out games and the time wasting and things like that. And I want to see entertaining football. I'm in amongst the same mindset that I was the last time we spoke about it, and I'll take a win in any fashion, whether it be that we've got away with a VAR decision or we've nicked it with loads of possession, but not many chances, but we scored 1-0 with a Watkins header. I'll take that. I want us to win in any case, however they do it. So to get 5 wins out of 7 is something that we've not seen from Aston Villa since the Championship days, which is a different kettle of fish because it's a different level. For Villa to be this consistent already under Unai Emery, and how we said at the start that it's almost like you'd expect this to be the worst will be under Emery because we'll get better under him as time goes on. It's exciting to think where Villa might be in 18 games time at the end of the season, rather than always looking at 5 and 7. Is it going to be 6 and 8 next? Is it going to be 7 out of 10? I think you and me said it on the last show that we did. If you can always win 2 out of 3 or whatever it is, or you get 5 points out of 9, or whatever the ratio is.
Group your wins to get. I know. Yeah,
over the course of the season, that's going to be 60 points out of 100, or whatever the ratio ends up being. So Villa are heading in the right direction, and I don't really care how it's done at this stage. Whether we have to grind teams out, whether we have to sit back and defend, whether we only play on the counter attack and make one chance and score and win 1-0. I don't really care at this point. I want Villa to win as many games as possible. And you follow that with Leicester in a couple of weeks' time. It's a home game. We win 1-0 and it goes off Tyrone Mings' backside. I don't care. Not care one bit.
Yeah, and I think it proves where we've been over the last 3 years, because like you look at Tottenham, for example, this season, the fans hate the football that they're watching. They're not convinced with Conte, but up until a couple of weeks ago, they were sitting in 4th with the best start they've ever made or something, up until the last game that they played. That they lost to City. And but we're almost the opposite. We're happy to take the points and sacrifice the performances or whatever it may be, but we have to do that anyway. I remember it was after Brighton. There was a couple of fans, which was a bit weird. We respect the opinion, but I thought it was strange. I thought it was strange that it was like we slugged it out for like 30 minutes. It's like a bit embarrassing that we have to do that or whatever it may be. That's respecting your opponent. Brighton are a really good team, and today against Southampton, we didn't have to do that because we scored late, and to be fair, I was surprised Martinez didn't get a booking because he usually does in the later bits of the game. But you got to do what you got to do to win the game. And as I say, today we weren't great in the performance, and that's another sort of topic. But away from home, we've won 3 out of 3 now. That's we haven't won 3 away games since like 2021 or 2020, I think.
2020 or somewhere.
Yeah, first 2020 since November 2020. And then we'd only won 3 of our previous 15 on the road before that as well. So the point being that if you're going to nick wins on the road, you take them, because then at home that's where you can play some flashy football, get the Villa Park crowd up, and you can do what you will there. But on the road, if you just get your points, then great. Because I always look at it and think any home game that Villa play, if you're going to lose a home game, it just leaves a bit of taste in your mouth for a while, doesn't it? And for us to go to anywhere and win, that's how it feels as an opposition fan. So they're thinking about, but we lost to Villa at home, and so we're not going to blow teams away 4-0 and play swashbuckling football. At home we can do that if we can, or over the next however long. But away from home you get your wins. Say chip them away, and at the end of the season that's where it comes up and plays in your favour, and you've all of a sudden got 15-20 points more than what you would have had because of your away points. And that's the difference, a big difference between probably finishing either in the bottom half or potentially in Europe. And that's probably something that we'll see at the end of the season as well, because say we've won 3 on the road. Under Gerrard, we hadn't won away from home this season. And before then, last season as well, we weren't particularly great. We'd won at Burnley and won at a couple of places, but we weren't, prolific on the road, were we? So again, that's a mentality thing. Players going away from home, away from Villa Park, and we're getting results, so that's good.
There's 2 comments here, one from Richard and one from Paul. So both said that we controlled the game. Paul says, we controlled the game. Did you leave the room? Great game management. You blokes do my head in. That's fair enough. But we are saying the same thing. Villa did control the game, but it's not perfect. Yeah. If we just sit and go, Villa played well and won 1-0, thank you for watching. That's the end of the show. We've got to look into it a little bit deeper than that. And like you said at the start, Leeds game could have gone very differently. Today could have gone very differently. And you got Stevenage as well. And you're talking about 3 games there that haven't been particularly great. Kind of forget Stevenage a little bit, but the other two wins in the Premier League, that's massive. It takes us up, doesn't take us up the leagues, we're still 11th, but points-wise, it propels us in the right direction. But it's not perfect. There's still something lacking with Villa, and I don't know what it is quite yet. It's always the final ball or the killer finish. We play some nice football at times, we really do, and we're pinging it around and you think, I've not seen us do stuff like that for a while. But then it gets to Bailey or Watkins or Buendia, and the final ball to the striker is poor or the finish is terrible. And you think, ultimately, none of that matters today because we won, and we won last week.
But it would be the
going
first
forward. It will be a problem at some point if it isn't fixed. The thing is, Emery will fix it at some stage. That's the positive thing. So for now, we might not be perfect, but we are winning games. Going forward, Emery will tweak those things and adjust it. And next season, or the parts of this season, we will blow teams away. We will play good, expansive football, and the finish at the end will go in, and it'll be Villa look good here. Villa cooking. At the moment, it's still not quite there, but we've won 1-0 against bottom of the league, and that's a potential banana skin. So I'm happy. I'm glad, and I'll absolutely take that. But we can't just go Villa won. We're happy. We move on because there's more to it than that.
Yeah,
but I don't want to be. Oh, he's so negative, he's so boring. We're seeing progress, but we're not the finished article. That's what I'm trying to say. But I'm trusting Emery with what we've seen so far that we will be the finished article. It's just going to take time. And at the moment, I'm happy, but we need a bit more because Watkins isn't always going to cut it. Bailey isn't always going to cut it. Buendia, there's work to be done, but in seasons gone by, we don't win today, and we didn't win last week, and we are talking about 3 poor defeats in the spin in Stevenage, Leeds, and Southampton. So we're winning ugly. That's fine by me, but I will want to see more than that in 12 months' time. But as long as we're still winning and we get into Europe, I don't really care.
Yeah, and that will come, as you say, at the moment, we're in this stage of Emery's had 7 Premier League games. We're still getting used to what he wants, and we're still winning. So as you say, this is probably, I don't want to say the worst, because we have played well today, as we mentioned earlier. We had 70% of the ball or something in the first half. We're dominating teams, which we hadn't seen before. So there are positives. It's just the point that if we hadn't won today and we hadn't beat bottom of the league, then there would be shouts of, oh, we're far too light. We need to spend X amount of money in January, final weeks of January, and the squad's, this and that. And we haven't beaten Wolves. We haven't beaten Southampton. And yeah, we have had a stroke of luck today, but that's because we deserved it. But we can't get that every week, and we know we're going to improve. They're just topics that we need to talk about. But yeah, at the end of the season, these points will all add up, and hopefully we'll be at least in the top 10, and we can, be in a position in the last 5 games of the season. I don't know what those games are, but if we are, a couple of points behind 7th or in 7th or wherever it may be, something around there, let's just go for it, because we know that in this period of games, we've taken 16 points from 21. If we do that at the back end of this season and just chip away until then, you're probably going to be knocking on the door, especially because, as we've mentioned, your Fulhams, Brighton and Brentfords have all done really well up until this point. But we know that historically, they're probably going to peter away a little bit like Sheffield United did, like other teams have in the past that are probably punching above the weight for half the season. To be fair, like Brentford and Brighton have done anyway in previous seasons. But you've got Chelsea who have spent like 450 million or so, nearly half a billion pounds in the season, which is disgusting. And who else? Liverpool as well, who I don't think will get European football, but Chelsea could. It's stiff competition, but if we can just say hit the target that we want to hit this season, then next season you just add a few more wins onto that, and then that's a good points total to try and reach with, I don't want to say better players, but players that will improve the overall squad, players that then have a full pre-season, not just like a World Cup break. It's plenty of positives to look up to, and you don't get that feeling now. Like, for example, when Emery's first 6 games, he took 13 points, and I think Gerrard was on 12. And I remember writing about it, and I thought, well, can we make too much of this because it's 1 point more than Steven Gerrard? And Gerrard's, obviously, his tenure did not go well at all at the end, and he finished with like nearly the worst win record or whatever it was in the club's history. But we know this is different because he's been there and done it before, Emery, and the club are giving him full backing, not full control, but a lot of control in terms of the players that we can bring in. There's obviously talk as well of a new director coming into the club as well to work with or above Johan Langer. That's probably on Emery's request too. So a lot of it is down to Unai Emery, and I don't think he'd be at the club if we didn't give him that. So that's what fills me with confidence that this isn't just a new manager bounce or whatever it may be. And in the summer, we're going to try for players and maybe not get them out. I think everything that we'll try and do will be on Emery's request, as I say, and we'll get it. and that'll only strengthen us in the long term. Long term being 4 years plus, because although managers don't get that long, this is Emery's toy. He's got the full backing of Sawiris, and it's really exciting because we know what he can do with clubs that are of similar stature to Villa, stature in terms of where they are in their domestic leagues, Sevilla, Villarreal, teams like that. He can take them to Champions League semi-finals, winning Europa Leagues. Premier League's a different kettle of fish, granted, but he hasn't had backing like he's had here at those clubs, and the infrastructure, everything there is ready for Emery to really make something of this. And what we've seen so far in 7 Premier League games, with a group of players that aren't his, a group of players that are got some Steve Bruce players are still here, Dean Smith, that's Steven Gerrard's been here as well. So it's a mishmash of play. I can't get my words out, of players, plus Alex Moreno. So really exciting for the future, and it's crazy what a 1-0 win over the bottom of the league can do for you.
Yeah, we'll move on to transfers in a sec. So I'm going to get too caught up with negative comments on the side panel over there saying that we're being too negative. We need to smile more. Under Gerrard, we were going nowhere, and now look at us. It's like, I understand all that. That's what we're saying. Like 15 minutes ago, I was backing us to get into Europe this season. How much more positive can we get? It's fine margins. We're not quite there yet. We're not the finished product. That's all I'm trying to say. I'm absolutely buzzing with the fact that we've won 1-0 against bottom of the league. And there'll be people that watch this have to go, oh, them two are getting a bit carried away. They're only bottom of the league. But that's a potential banana skin that we got past, and it's a win, and we move on. And I want to win the next game, and the one after that, and the one after that. And I want to be coming on here every single week talking about wins and wins and wins and wins, and how much more positively I can be about it. Just a few negative comments are winding me up more than I should, and in the future I'm probably just going to end up getting rid of the comments panel altogether, and for the 90% of them that are positive and are enjoying the conversation, I won't see any of them because I'll be so annoyed about the rest of them. So we'll finish with transfers and the transfer window. There's 10 days left or so. What needs to be done if this is a case of, do the owners now look at it and go, oh, maybe we can do something this year? Do they then think we have to open the checkbook to try and make up those next 20-odd points to get into the mid-50s, early 60s? Or do they go, right, let's kind of consolidate. If the right player isn't available, let's wait till the summer? First of all, how would you find that balance between the two approaches? And if we are to do any business, what do we need, do you think?
Yeah, well, we know Villa aren't going to go out willy-nilly and buy a striker because it's a striker and he plays in that position. It needs to be the right player for Unai Emery. Every player that's going to come into the club will be ticked off by Emery, like we've seen with Alex Moreno, John Duran as well. What Villa need in the squad, obviously we need a striker that is more capable right now of challenging Ollie Watkins or playing alongside Watkins or whatever it may be. I think we do need another winger as well. And a midfielder potentially. I know we've been linked with Guendouzi, not to play in that number in the pivot role, to play and challenge the likes of Buendia and McGinn. Obviously, Guendouzi seems to be the top target, but he's not going to come cheap. And halfway through a season as well, I'm not too sure if we can get that deal done. Maybe some players, especially of his quality, would want to look at it and see how things develop, even though he loves Emery. And the opportunity to play for Villa, obviously, I presume, would be interesting. But at the same time, are Villa going to get into European football within the next 2 years? It's not a given. Whereas Marseille will probably get Champions League football this season. So, I know Kamara gave that up, but we don't know how long Kamara's got with us. So I don't know how it's going to. Honestly, I think it depends on players. I think what the main thing is that we won't be signing anyone in January unless it's the right player. So if we don't sign Guendouzi in January, you can probably bet your bottom dollar that we're going to be speaking to his agents up until the summer, like we did with Diego Carlos and Kamara, or another player that he wants. For example, if there's a main striker target that we're not aware of at the moment, we'll be speaking with their agents or whatever, their people this month. If that doesn't happen, it will happen in the summer. The only thing is that I would wonder if, as I mentioned before, someone like a Moussa Dembele, someone you could bring in for like £3 million.
So cheap.
I know it's weird, isn't it? You could probably buy him for 3 million and sell him for 10 million in the summer, and then just 7 million quid. Like, it's some business, isn't it? Football. But I don't think that's a long-term option, in my opinion. Prove me wrong, sort of thing. But I think those are the three positions that we're looking at right now. I think a right back as well will probably be on the agenda come the summer, because that's young, I love him, and he's going to be 38 at the start of next season. But you need a player there that's going to be in Emery's plans, and I'm not sure if that's Matty Cash at the moment. I don't know. The left back situation is obviously sorted in terms of Moreno. If Luca Dean leaves in the summer, then you're probably going to have to bring another left back though. So there's spinning plates, and at centre back as well. Bednarek won't be with us in the summer. He might even get recalled by Southampton this month.
Yeah.
And, Callum Chambers, I'm not too sure if he's going to feature or if he has a future at the club either. So potentially a centre back and a right back and a left back in the summer. And then you're looking at a midfield if we don't do it this window, a striker and potentially a winger as well. So there's a lot of players there. And as I say, they're not going to win this window unless they're the right ones for Unai Emery. And to be fair, that's what the club have been doing since Gerrard was appointed. And it probably hasn't worked particularly. Like Luca Dean is now out of favour. Other players are going to come out of favour, like Coutinho. But under Emery, I'd like to think that he's going to get his players right, his talent ID. It seems to be good. And we'll see how we go. But up until the next 10 days, there won't be any players coming in unless it has to be the right player for Emery. And we're not going to just spend for the sake of it, because that's why we've been in trouble in recent seasons. And that's why we're having to flog players like a Sanson and other players. And we can't at the moment. So it's, you don't want to be in those positions again. We need players that are going to improve the team. Because if they need to be better than what we have already, right? We need to try and finish in the top 7. So you need to improve them. And that isn't going to happen in January, or it's unlikely to happen in January. So we'll see how we go in the next 10 days. And that will then decide whether we can make that push for the top 7, I think, this season or not, because we are just too thin for me at the moment.
What do you make of the way that the John Duran deal was done? Because I've read conflicting reports about one, that he was an Emery player because Emery's looked at him in the past and these kind of things. And then another story, I don't know if it's direct from Emery actually in the press conference. I've been a little bit over the place this week, that he was brought, John Duran, by the Villa scouting team as a player they've been looking at for the last 6 months and trying to get a deal over the line with visits back and forth to America. And they brought him to Emery and said, what do you think of him? And Emery had the final approval to go, yes, I like the look of him. I've done my research. Let's sign him. How do you assess that approach if that's the way it was done? That it's a Villa signing, but Emery's had the final approval? Because I've kind of had this situation before where you kind of do whatever the sporting director says, and you'll kind of go, right, we trust you now, Johan Langer or Suso or whoever. And when it doesn't work out, we go, right, well, let's just get rid of the sporting director, and then we're left with these 4 or 5 players that no one wants and no one wanted in the first place. Yeah. But you always think, well, the manager's got to have the final say. So if Emery has done his research on John Duran based off the scout reports that Villa provided to him, and he still thinks it's a deal worth doing because he's in control of the final decision, that's almost like, for the first time, you sit back and go, that's how a football club is supposed to go. The scouts do the work, present it to the current manager, he does his research and says yes or no. And then if it doesn't work out for the player or the Emery or the scouting department, you've then got several people who are responsible for bringing that player to the club, and not just going, well, Suso likes this player from the Spanish second division, and now we're stuck with this guy who no one wants. Yeah,
I mean, firstly, yeah, Emery will have the final say on all the transfers that come in, because say this is his thing now. He's been given control and has been empowered by Sawiris, and that's a big factor of why he even joined the club in the first place. In terms of Duran, Villa, we know had been scouting him. I think he's probably about halfway through his time in the MLS, because he was only in the MLS for 1 season, and their season I think starts in our winter, so around about now, and then ends in obviously later in the year. And they were scouting him about midway through the season, so they're obviously aware of him, Villa, up until Emery came in. But before Duran signed for Chicago Fire from, I forgot what the club's called in Colombia now.
No idea.
Yeah, it was Club Brugge, a couple of Spanish clubs, including Villarreal, who obviously Emery was working at, and would have again had a big say on transfers being at Villarreal. So he was obviously aware of John Duran before he come to Villa, and then it's probably a nice sort of collaboration, I suppose, now that he's come to Villa and said, "Oh, this striker is also on our radar," and sort of matched up well, I suppose, which is obviously a very good thing, because it's directors and scouts, etc., and head coach all combined on a player that's clearly got a big future. As you say, like you look at, like, I don't know, like a Jed Spence at Tottenham and Conte. The first thing you said about him was, "It's not my signing," and it's just massive friction. And although he doesn't have to say it, it's good to know that Emery clearly is aware of him and was looking at him previously as well. And he looks like a sort of Emery type of player as well. a powerful player that can run in behind. And there's clearly got something about him as well. So we'll see how he develops. And there's a lot of money that Villa have spent. That was the one thing that did shock me about it. I wasn't particularly shocked that we signed the player because you say Emery was aware of him. Villa have done scouting as well, and we haven't got that strike at the moment. That I think that we can sort of pin a hat on in a few years and be like, okay, obviously Rory Wilson, but he's too young. He's 17 at the moment. But yeah, it's good to know that he's going to be coming through. And yeah, it was a big shock by the transfer fee, but that's kind of added to my excitement, I suppose. I don't know if it's or not, but because he's nearly 20 million quid, you kind of think, oh, he must be good.
Yeah, that was my assessment when I saw the tweet. They Aston Villa delighted to announce, and I was thinking, I'll click this link and it'll say he's been loaned back out or he's signed to play in the under 21s or something. Then you go, oh my god, 18 million. Oh,
the only thing I would say
must be good.
Although that's a lot of money, how many times have not just Villa fans, but any club said, "Oh, look at Brighton, who are they signing? Just nab their players." Or when Brentford were in the Championship and now, who are they getting? Like the Toma guy, he's worth probably like 30+ million now, and he's only scored a couple of goals, but he's clearly a class player. It's just cutting out the middleman because John Duran would have gone to Benfica if it wasn't for us, probably, and they would have flogged him for tens of £1 million like they have done with Nunes, like they will with this Gonzalo Ramos player that they've got as well. It's like a never-ending conveyor belt of players that these clubs seem to be, getting. So if Villa can jump on that and get not luck, but can do their research and nab in, where Brighton have signed Moises Caicedo from Ecuador, how have they spotted him? We're trying to now get onto that and do our own sort of. We've got a huge academy, and players are always coming through there. But there's nothing wrong with paying big money for youngsters that are clearly promising as well. The club gets over like £120 million every year from the Premier League. Let's invest in some more promising youth, and it's just say not be on the end of a conversation where it's you need to pay 50 million for this player because he's had a good years in Serie A. And the striker market as well, not to go on, is really bad. Like Scamacca, for example, gone to West Ham, had one really good, decent year in Serie A in Italy, and he's like 30+ million. And then doesn't play very well for them. Haller didn't play well for West Ham previously. Who else has gone for big money? Nunes, 85 million. It's a crazy market. Tammy Abraham's probably like 40 million. And he's only scored 3 goals this year, or less than that now. So yeah, to pay 20 million for a youngster isn't the end of the world. Danny Ings, we signed for nearly 30, and he only scored 13 goals. So yeah, he's got bags of ability, Duran. So hopefully in a couple of years he can continue to develop.
Yeah, totally agree. Like you say, that's the good phrase for it, cutting out the middleman. Instead of going to Brighton or Brentford or, like you say, some club from Portugal who's done well with a young kid from South America, go to South America ourselves. Again, doing things the right way, how a proper club should operate. I think that's pretty much it for today. We'll call it a day there because I don't want to get too involved in transfers, although it is only 10 days or so to the end of the window. Just quickly to round off, I'm pretty sure this will be my last podcast now for a couple of weeks as I'm due to go on paternity leave literally any day in theory. I'm working Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I've got a couple of days off at the end of the week, and then it should be baby time. So we'll see how that goes. I'm having 3 weeks off, I think. So I was trying to work out what date I might be back. I'll definitely miss the Leicester game. I might be back for the Man City one. I'm not sure. It might be after that. I can't remember. Depends when the dates kind of line up. So yeah, for anyone who's bored of my negativity, I won't be on the podcast for the next few weeks anyway. So enjoy it while I'm not here. For those who actually do care about what I've got to say, then yeah, I'll be back soon. But yeah, John, Ash, and Matt will be holding the fort for a couple of weeks. Yeah, a couple of games, maybe a deadline day episode. If we sign anyone, I'll be expecting you to jump on and do a podcast as I would be. So I will spend the next week or so trying to persuade my other half to call him Baby Unai or Baby Ollie or whatever I can get away with. Actually, I've been meaning to show these on the podcast for ages, and I'll forget every time. And I put them right in front of me today, so I remembered. For Christmas, I was given this from my partner's mum. It was hand knitted by somebody, and I was going to try and find a link, so if anyone was interested, they could get one because they're really nice. But she made, whoever this woman was who made them, made a little baby version as well. I've got a Villa hat for me and a Villa hat for little baby Unai. So I'll finish the podcast with my nice Villa hat on. I will be wearing this at Villa Park at some point when I eventually get back to the games. We'll see how things go. If you had to pick a baby name right now, I know you're not pregnant or anything. If you had to pick a baby name and it was a Villa-related name and I put you on the spot, who would you go for? I'm looking
I'd
for
go with
inspiration.
John. I'd go with John, but put an H in front of the O. John Duran. There we go.
John Townley, spelled Jhon. There we go.
There you go.
Yeah. So thank everyone for the well wishes in the comments. It's going to be a couple of weeks where I'm not around. I will sleep very little. I won't be watching Villa probably. So I don't know when I'll come back, and I won't even know what's going on. But if you guys are talking about Villa winning another couple of games, all is well with the world for me. So John, thank you very much for joining me. Thanks everyone for tuning in. As always, we appreciate all your comments, good or bad. I suppose that's subjective. Thank you very much for watching. Like I said, I'll be working Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So if anything does happen, in theory, I should be here to do the podcast. But as I said, anything could happen over the next few days. So if something does happen, it might be you and Ash, or you and Matt, or Neil might come back, or Max Stokes, or whoever. If we need help, we've got a little bit of a community that we can go to. So thank you very much, everyone, for watching. If I don't see you in the next couple of weeks, goodbye. This is it. I might be back. I might not be. So we'll see where Villa are. Maybe we'll eventually have moved out of 11th place in the table by the time I come back, and we'll have climbed a few places at last. So thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. As always, if you're watching this on Catch Up and on Spotify, leave reviews, YouTube comments, likes, subscriptions, all those kind of things. They really do help, and will help the lads out over the next few weeks as well. John, thank you for joining me. I know you've jumped back on after your shift ended at 3:00, so thanks for coming back to talk about the Villa. We'll see you. Well, the guys will see you very soon, and I'll see you in a few weeks. So cheers, everyone.
Thank you for listening to Claret and Blue and Aston Villa podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, then please do let us know. We love hearing your thoughts and comments. We'll be back soon with another episode, but until then, up the Villa.